This video is a sample from the Secret Guitar Teacher Interactive course, The 5 Main Elements of Music. The 5 main elements of music. Element number 1, musical notes. Part 1, the 4 main characteristics of musical notes. Notes are the real nuts and bolts of music. In this video, we're going to take a look at the 4 chief characteristics of musical notes. Pitch, how high or low the note sounds. Tone, how bassy or trebly the note sounds. Duration, how long the note lasts. And finally, dynamics. Let's have a closer look at how these different properties are controlled by the guitar player. Starting with pitch. On the guitar, we can affect the pitch of notes in several ways. When we're tuning the guitar, for example, we raise or lower the pitch of the strings by increasing or decreasing the tension on the string using the tuning machines. Then once we've tuned the guitar, we can make sounds of different pitch simply by working up from a low string to a high string. So one common cause for confusion on the guitar is the fact that the pitch of the strings gets higher as we move down the strings. And that's why we call this string here the top string, even though it's at the bottom, and this one the bottom string, even though it's at the top. On each string, we can alter the pitch of the sound we get by reducing the length of the string that's allowed to vibrate, and we do that by stopping the string at different frets. Laws of physics determine that the shorter the length of string that's allowed to vibrate, the faster the rate of vibration. And it's that increase in the frequency of vibration that we hear as higher pitch. So in the sense of different notes on different strings, this direction towards the bridge is up, and this direction down towards the machine head is down. Another way we affect the pitch of a note when we're playing guitar is by bending a string or unbending it. And this is a technique that's particularly popular with blues guitarists. On an amplified guitar, pitch can also be altered by using an electronic device that changes the frequency of the sound signal after you've played the note on the guitar, but before the signal reaches the amplifier and speakers. Such devices are generally called pitch shifters. Now let's take a closer look at tone. On the acoustic guitar, tone is almost entirely controlled by the picking hand. Arguably, the most effective way to control the tone is to pick the string near to the bridge to get a trebly tone, and then move away from the bridge to get a progressively warmer sound, and eventually a bassy tone as we head towards the neck. One of the characteristics of the guitar is that we can often find notes of a given pitch at one of several different locations on the fretboard. For example, if I want to play the note F above middle C, we can find it here at the first fret on the first string, or we could find it at fret 6 on the second string. We could find the same note at fret 10 on the third string, fret 15 on the fourth string, or fret 20 on the fifth string. And as I expect you can hear, each of those choices gives us a different tone of note. On the top two strings we can hear it's quite trebly. On the middle two strings, as you'd expect, more of a mid-range sound. And then we get a more bassy sound on the fifth string. The more experienced guitarist will vary their tone by using different picking techniques. For example, they might use a plectrum, or bare fingers. Quite a softer tone with the fingers than with the plectrum. You also get subtly different shades of tone depending on which thickness of plectrum you use. Here's my standard plectrum again, which is a 1.14 millimeter. Compare that to a very, very skinny 0.46 millimeter. Or a nice stubby 3 millimeter. And you can hear the thicker the pick, generally, the bassier the tone. You can also get picks made of different materials, wood or metal picks, for example, that give you different shades of tonal colour as well. At an even more subtle level of control, the exact way you hold the pick also creates differences in tone. To give you 3 examples, if I hold the pick with my thumb all the way over it like that and my finger the other side, so it's just a tiny little bit of the tip sticking out, then the pick's going to be very unyielding, and that'll give me a nice brittle sound. If I hold the pick more on its sort of back edge like that, allowing more of the plastic free to sort of wiggle around, then we get a softer sound. And then I can hold the pick round on its sort of edge, so that I'm contacting the strings with the rounded edge of the pick rather than the pointed tip. It's softer still. An intermediate guitarist uses muting techniques to vary tone, either with the fretting hand or using palm muting with the picking hand. All these ways of controlling the tone of the guitar can also be applied equally to the electric guitar. But in addition, once we can manipulate the sound output with electronics, then there's no real limit to how we can change the tone. The most immediate and commonly used way of controlling tone electronically is simply by using the guitar's own tone controls. And normally turning these controls clockwise will move the tone towards the trebly end of the spectrum, and turning them anti-clockwise towards the bass. Amplifiers also have tone controls, often called EQ or equalizers. These can range from just a single knob marked tone or EQ through separate controls for bass and treble, or bass, mid-range and treble, all the way up to full graphic equalizers, allowing very fine control of tone across several frequency ranges. Amps often have built-in effects that vary the tone in specific ways. These generally fall into three broad categories, or mixtures of effects that fall into one of these three categories. Reverb or delay, which, as the name suggests, alters the level of echo. Modulation effects, which are mainly to do with duplicating the note and doubling it up, maybe with a slightly different pitch or different tone, and this produces a whole variety of effects. Make your guitar sound like you're playing underwater. Oh, it makes it sound like you're a duck floating on the water. Tremolo effect. Pitch shifting effects. And sort of what we call pick-wah effect. In addition to this, we've also got sustain, overdrive generally, which we generally use to play a note to make it sound longer than normal. Overdriven tones are the mainstay of hard rock and metal, but also can be used in varied degrees in blues and jazz as well. I tend to use the presets on my amp for those sort of sounds because I'm lazy. And now duration. Strike a note on a good quality acoustic guitar and it will ring out for several seconds before gradually decaying away to silence. And if you've played that note on an open string, the only way of affecting its duration is to mute the note, either with the picking hand or with the fretting hand. Just lightly touching the string to stop it vibrating. In the case of a fretted note, it's actually possible to extend the duration of the note by using vibrato technique. Notice that this technique is also yet another way of subtly altering the tone of the note. On the electric guitar, it's possible to extend the duration of a note by cranking up the gain on the amp and using controlled feedback, something like this. Of course, it's also possible to switch a note off, stop its duration, simply by using the volume controls, or by switching away to a different pickup setting where you've already set the control to 0. So if I'm on my bridge pickup here and I'm playing that note, I can just flick over to this pickup switch, which I've set to 0 beforehand, and that gives you a very sudden cutting off of the note. And finally, dynamics. Dynamics is really all about volume. And on the acoustic guitar, this is generally just controlled by how hard you hit the string. But if we look closely, this is actually the resultant of two different factors. The first factor is how much of the pick contacts the string. And the second factor is the rate of acceleration of the picking motion. Physicists among you may recognise this as an application of the kinetic energy formula Ke equals half mv squared. Dynamics also refers to how the volume of a note alters during its lifetime. Strike a note in a fairly normal manner and the typical dynamic pattern you get looks something like this. This is what is referred to as a sound envelope, or ADSR envelope, where ADSR stands for attack, decay, sustain and release. On the electric guitar, the dynamics of a note can be controlled by clever use of the volume control. or of course by using a volume pedal, which is much easier. Finally, it is worth mentioning that accentuating the attack of a note is a key component of rhythm. Playing 4 notes in a row with even accentuation produces one effect, or accenting different notes out of that group of 4 gives you different rhythms. So, for example, I could just accentuate the first notes. Or the first and third. Or maybe the second and fourth. In each case, a different rhythmic pattern is produced. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you'd really like to maximize your potential as a guitar player, click on the link in the description below to the Secret Guitar Teacher site. Here you can sign up for a 30-day trial free of charge and without obligation. We won't even ask you for your credit card number.